What made you lose interest in a person you had a crush on? I was on a date with a girl. We were taking a little walk. The weather was quite cold, so she was wearing a big coat. She took her hands out of her pockets. Her hands were full of tissues, scraps of paper, candy wrappers, and she just dumped it all on the floor. We were a couple of meters away from a bin. I pretty much went straight home. Throw litter on the floor, I will see you to the door. This is a fine addition to my dating prerequisites. She was a bad parent to her kids. Kids tend to ruin crushes, to begin with for me. Not just because I don't want them, but because what if you start dating this person and get close to those kids and then break up? You don't get visitation rights. And that is precisely why I choose to stay single as a parent. As an introvert, I don't even feel lonely. My kids fill my social quota and often exceed it as well. I realized she was mean about 4 years ago. I moved in next door to a beautiful woman. She was fun, and we got along great. We started doing activities together. We hiked. We worked out. We watched movies. Then one day, we went to a fast food drive-thru, and she completely berated the workers for no good reason. I was mortified. Then as we were driving away, she said, "They're the stupidest people. They never listen." Then I said, "You know they probably spit in your food, right?" She gave me a thanks a lot look. My crush ended that day. There's just something different about that kind of mean. I'm working on it, but I have a terrible mean streak. But I've never yelled at a service worker in my whole life. I don't even understand it. It's not even mean, it's like an instinct to social climb almost. I can't wrap my head around it. Some people are jerks. Yeah. She had no reason to start berating the workers like that. She started laying onto them about fresh bread before she even ordered. It was a Jimmy John's. Then as we left, she told me how stupid they were and never listened. They were super nice to her and didn't deserve that. Some people are just insecure and unhappy with themselves and have to project it to everyone else instead of looking into a mirror. I found her on Tinder while her fiance was deployed in the Navy. Oh Jody boy. The wife is blowing. She littered. It was supposed to be a nice walk in the park. We got Subway and she threw the wrapper and napkins in a garden. I picked it up and threw it out myself after she called me weird and walked away. People who litter just because there's someone who will pick it up are the worst. It's shameful when people don't want to maintain basic hygiene and decency. I'm a janitor at my local movie theater and constantly have to pick up stuff left behind by guests who refuse to use the multiple trash cans literally on the way out of the theater. Like, you brought it in. Why can't you throw it out? Then I've had several people I know tell me they do it because people like me get paid to pick the trash up. I will also get paid to clean up a pile of shit in the middle of the lobby if you decide to take a dump there. But that doesn't make it alright. We got into an argument during my freshman year while we were in the talking phase, and then she screamed at me in the hallway. Ouch. More like ouch. I got a promotion at work. He got butthurt and then stabbed me in the back. He was given a part of the promotion that I was given, not even half of the responsibilities. When I realized that he was a weasel, but also not good at being a weasel, he wasn't sexy anymore. Wow. That's crazy. Must have taken a while for that knife wound to heal. I know. It sounded like he had pretty good accuracy while aiming the knife into the back, right into the spinal cords. I noticed he was an attention seeker. I heard the same cool stories he told me when I first met him that drew me in again and again, and realized he was egotistical. Basically, if you say you've climbed a mountain, he would interrupt to say he's climbed a bigger one that was more dangerous. If you've been to Tenerife, he's been to Tenerife. Well, now I know where I'm going on vacation next. 12 it is. She wasn't interested in me that way. Lack of interest from the other person is kind of a deal breaker for me. This is why I never get the griping about being friend-zoned. If she doesn't like you, stop trying to win her heart and go find yourself a girl who appreciates you for you. Throughout college, I asked out 3 different guys. If it matters, I'm a woman, and all three of them simply told me they just liked me as friends. I liked them because they were my friend, but because their reasoning was solid. After the awkward period of rejection, I was able to keep talking to them like normal afterwards because I wanted to continue being in their company, but I also knew it wasn't worth me trying to change his mind. Speaking from experience, the people who have an issue with being friend-zoned are the ones who have low self-esteem and place women as a whole on a pedestal. When he and his friend told a 5-year-old to jump off a cliff, that was ducked up. That's more than just ducked up. Straight up evil. He blew up at our waitress for absolutely no reason other than his having a bad day. Idiot. As a waitress, we take the brunt of people's bad days. If you have a bad day, don't go out to eat and be rude to your waitress. Okay, thanks. She took a cat she had adopted and allowed it to run away because it had become noisy at night. I knew she allowed him to run away because a day later he came back smelling of the outside and meowing at her door. I took him in, washed him in the bathroom, and she kept sarcastically saying, "That's your cat now." Yay, he is. And I still have him, and he's still annoying and loud, but I love him anyway. It's the ugliest sort of person who selfishly adopts a cat while depressed and then tries to rid themselves of this life they took responsibility for. I adopted a cat a few months ago. She's loud, clingy, and sometimes annoying. I wouldn't trade her for the world. My cat likes to walk up to me and turn his head sideways, then plop down and beg for belly rubs. It can be annoying when I'm cooking, but only because it's too adorable to ignore. He told me that he wanted me to sleep with other people and tell him about it, and that he stood on the edge of a bridge all night long debating on jumping because he didn't think he could make me happy enough. Damn. He must have had a serious inferiority complex. Has a lot of mental health issues, and I tried hard to be accepting and helpful, but at the end of the day it proved to be more than I could handle. Played hard to get. Yep. There's a certain type of person, regrettably, that playing hard to get works on. Everybody else will just roll their eyes and move on. I realized every time we spent time together I ended up feeling bad about myself. Oof. Honestly, that's what it was like with my best friend in 6th grade. I thought she was educating me how to be cool, stylish, but she was just downplaying me. Gosh, I wish I had just been myself and been able to stand up for myself. In 7th grade, I brought her a slice of cheesecake at lunch for Valentine's Day and she laughed at me in front of her friends and wouldn't even take it. I was socially awkward at the time, but damn, that ducked me up. In elementary school I bought a cheapo ring from the school bookstore and tried to give it to my crush. I gave it to her a few days later and she tried to stomp on it and destroy it. Must have been made out of vibranium because that little plastic ring didn't even crack. Took it back and gave it to my mom instead. I'm sure your mom got a lot more out of it. I showed him my holographic Squirtle notebook, and then shortly after it mysteriously vanished from my cubby and he wouldn't look me in the eye. I asked him about it. I know what you did, Joey. Maybe he was part of Team Rocket? Finding out she had a boyfriend and a dude on the side. Were you that dude on the side? Yep. On the other side though. Played those mental games with me, where I had to guess what she means/wants. I much prefer people to be very blunt with me. One date with a girl. She hints at going for a hike next weekend. When I finally get it out of her, she assumes that means buzz off. I hate those things. When I was in HS, there was a guy, Charlie, who was handsome and lots of girls had crushes on him, including me. If you didn't know him well, he seemed like a quiet, unassuming guy. We ended up joining the same extracurricular club. I was on the shy side in HS, so I didn't talk to him directly much other than for stuff regarding the club. Well, one day he was working on a club related project and he was with some of the other guys in the club. They were talking as they worked. I was around the corner from them, working on something else by myself. They didn't know I was there, but I could hear every word they said. Long story short, one of the guys told Charlie that Ella, another member, had a crush on Charlie and wanted to go out with him. She wasn't the most gorgeous girl in school or the most popular, but she was very sweet and well liked. When Charlie found this out, he scoffed and said to think that I'd ever go on a date with someone like her. I'd definitely be dating down. She's nothing. He said it with such a nastiness and disdain that any appeal he had to me shriveled up immediately, and I never looked at him the same again. Listen, I get that he may not have been attracted to Ella and didn't want to date her, but there was no reason to be such a nasty dick about it. He could have just laughed it off and changed the subject, but he didn't. Maybe it was to impress his friends in some strange way, or maybe he really was that much of an asshole. I'll never know. Regardless, that spoke to his character, and not in a good way. There's a difference between being uninterested and thinking you're better than someone. The way he said it is so narcissistic and mean. The irony is, Ella is probably a much better person than him. Narcissists like him bring negativity to the world, whereas it sounds like Ella brings positivity. Therefore Ella, in my opinion, is a much more valuable person. I never understood this attitude of people thinking they are better than others just because they are good looking. Sure, you have a nice face, but what do you actually bring to the table? What good do you do in the world? Bad money management. Not into someone who'll eventually expect me to help them pay off several credit cards. That's a smart move. It's also important to avoid people who are gambling addicts. Then their money and yours will disappear. I found out she couldn't handle any sort of stress or pressure at all and would just give up. Left basically everything she touched half finished. I found in my life that stress and pressure are the best indication of someone's true nature. It's easy to have a great relationship when everything is good. Totally agree. That said, given the current situation, I reckon a lot of people are finding that out. Divorce lawyers are going to be busy after lockdowns end and have already been in countries that have come out of lockdown. When I realized I was the only one trying to maintain the friendship, yes, I had a crush on him and he knew and made me think there was something there between us when there never was. We had a 2-week thing when we were 18 that didn't progress beyond kissing and hanging out, listening to music and talking. He would always answer his phone when I called. He didn't have to. He could have ignored me, but chose not to. But eventually I got to the point where I was tired of putting effort into a friendship. Any romance prospects at this point had long gone, and we were both in relationships, but I still thought we were friends. I said to myself that I wasn't going to call or text him anymore. If he wanted to speak to me, then he knew where to find me. That was 18 years ago. Has never bothered. Has seemingly dropped off the face of the earth. No social media. No anything. So even if I wanted to track him down, I wouldn't know where to start. I hope he's okay and happy wherever he is. I was exactly like you described him with my crush at the time, without the actually being together thing, and I really felt love, but I never had a relationship before and was very shy. So I was just letting her hug me, talk to me, sitting on my lap, even kissing my neck, and I was just feeling overwhelmed and didn't know how to make my move, even though I had a crush on her and she obviously did too. We stayed friends, and after 2 years, I moved in another city and we stopped talking because I suck at maintaining contact with people and do that with everyone. I told her how I felt last year by text message and still feel so stupid for not doing anything at the time, because she said that she felt the same. I don't know why it's still today so hard for me to do these things, but I guess it helped me learn that waiting for the thing to happen won't make the thing happen. He asked to borrow my hardback of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was my favorite of the series and I happily lended it to him. 6 months later he finally returned it. The dust jacket was torn, the corners were dented, and the spine was broken. That book had been in pristine condition and I nearly cried that he took such little care of it. My 6th grade nether regions were turned to dust. Screw you, Trevor, you book ruining barbarian. I remember when I first started reading long books, I would have the page slightly bent and it would actually create like a crack in the cover. After that happened I became extremely paranoid about bending book covers. I hate hardcovers as well, so this is my only option. I used to worry about that kind of thing, but a book that's worn shows its age and its use throughout the years. There's a reason why the oldest, most torn up books are often portrayed as the most interesting in cinema. And that's because they changed hands the most, were read the most, and were loved and cared for. A worn book has character. All of that being said, the dude is still an asshole for mistreating a borrowed book like that. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Reddit videos.